we're meant to get together, they do the exact same thing. Well, and then she said, and she's a psycho. I know, they all are. With women on around. And so I get these little, there's no way you're really going to read this. And the guy, there's no way he talks that way. Anyway, so I write these people back, and I do the best I can to keep up with the mail. And usually the letters are basically, Henry, you're coming to town, I can't wait, looking forward to it. And I write back, hey man, I'm looking forward to it too, which is the truth. But every once in a while, I get letters that are pretty intense. And during America's amazing invasion and occupation of Iraq, I got a lot of letters from soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq, in country, who would write me from bases, from Bradley fighting vehicles, from submarines at the bottom of the sea. I'm living in the bottom of a volcano. My location cannot be specific. If I told you, I had to send one of those death rows over and explode your brain and kill you. But I'm really bored, and tell me what you're doing right now. I'm like, well, I'm sitting at my desk writing you back. I'm on a 15-hour shift. I can't sleep for the next 9 days. What's happening? You write them a letter. And that's kind of fun, but I would get letters from mothers. I got about 3 or 5 over the 8-year period, and none of them were good. And in one of the title bars, I see this letter, it says, you have one less fan, which means, oh, I've pissed someone off. And it happens. I mean, if you say your opinion, not everyone's going to dig your action. And a couple of weeks ago, I got a letter from a guy, I am off the Rollins train. And I'm sure he doesn't talk like that. And he's mad at me because I'm going to vote. He thinks all politicians are bastards and we're all just getting a bunch of sheep going to the slaughter and no one should vote for anything. They should just blow things up. And I said, well, thank you for your input, which is how I imitate myself when I talk. Anyway, and so I got a letter, the title bar said, you have one less fan. And my stomach gets all uptight, like, oh, here we go. And I opened up the letter, and it was nothing like what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be some angry person who doesn't like me anymore. And it was from a mother. She said, dear Henry, you don't know me. I'm a mom, was a mom. My son was killed in Iraq recently, and in his belongings, we found a few of your DVDs. And every once in a while, he would mention your name, that he liked you, that you made him laugh, and that, there's a lot of boredom when you're waiting to go out on a mission in Iraq, and, he would punctuate the hours by watching your DVDs, and so he's gone, and my family and myself, we wanted to reach out and just thank you for giving our son some enjoyment. And you're going to respond to that letter. You're not going to not respond. And so you can't write one line, sorry for your loss, got a motor, because when you see the topic, but on the same point, you can't write back too long. Like, if you write back a 500-word letter, you basically are grilling this woman over the fire that is her grief over her lost son. So you don't want to make her endure this this enlarged pain, especially because you never met that person. So you can walk that being disingenuous line that Mitt Romney hops over all the time. And I don't want to do that. And so I think what is the thing to do is this kind of a very delicate middle ground must be reached. And I wrote her back and I said, look, I'm so sorry for your loss. I cannot begin to even imagine the level of your grief. I don't know even how you're able to write. You must be an amazing woman. I'm very sorry about your son, but I'm happy that I was able to give your son a smile. Thank you so much for taking out the time to let me know if there's anything I can do from my end. I'm just one guy, but if I can help in my limited capacity, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll always write you back. And I sent that off, and I did that letter a few times during the Iraq invasion and occupation, and I would get a Christmas card that year from the family, say, from our family to yours, like I have one. And it was very nice and incredibly sad. And of all the letters I've gotten over 30 years of getting correspondence from people, for the most part, I don't know. The most intense letter I've ever received in my life was from the Iraq conflict. And a guy wrote me, he said, dear Henry, you don't know me. I'm a soldier. I'm in America. I'm back from Iraq. A few weeks ago, I was taking my orders out with my guys, and we were told to shoot up a building. It's sunset, we can't see anything. And we said, well, why are we shooting this building? Like, what's the objective? The commanding officer said, I told you to shoot the building, shoot up the building. And they said, well, that's a bad order. What if there's innocent people in there? I mean, why are we shooting it? And he said, hey, don't make me lose my temper, shoot the damn building. And only one guy shot at the building, the guy who wrote me, so he deployed his weapon. I don't know what weapon he had. And eventually they go into the building to see what's going on in there, and they find a freshly killed young boy. And the only possible killer of the kid was the guy who wrote me. So he said, Henry, I'm a murderer. I murdered a child, and there's nothing I'm going to do in my life that's going to change that. Even if I have a kid, I'm going to be a guy who has a kid, and some father in Iraq doesn't have a kid. And so I shot myself in the hand to punish myself, and they sent me back to America. And I'm sitting here at home, and I want to blow my brains out. And I look up to you, and I want you to talk me out of it. Go. And don't take this the wrong way, but there goes the weekend. You know, in that whatever you were going to do, that's back burner. And so I sat down and immediately tried to write back. And I bet that what I wrote him is within 5 words of what any of you would have written him. Not to say that the sentiment expressed is in any way generic, but perhaps universal. And so I wrote back and I said, look, dear guy, well, let's not BS each other. You did an awful thing. Doesn't necessarily make you an awful person. And I can't speak to you about war because you're the expert, you've been in it, and I've watched from the sidelines. But I think historically all wars are looked at years later as massive blunders, and what happens during a war is total insanity. So you're a good guy in a bad situation, and you're going to have to hang in there. And I'm sure your wonderful friends and family have all told you that you cannot kill yourself. And if you do, imagine for a moment the incredible grief that you're going to put your mother and father through. Your mother and father are going to wake up every single day in such a heartbroken state. They will not be able to taste food. They will not be able to sleep. I mean, it will kill them if you kill yourself. And no doubt they're all telling you the same thing I am. We are right about this one. You need to stick around. If there's anything I can do for you, write me. I'll do anything I can. I'm just one guy, but man, I will always be here if you want to write me back. And I sent that letter off, and I never heard back from the guy. And there's a few conclusions I came to as to why I never heard back. One, maybe he was dead by the time I sent the letter. Two, maybe he read the letter and thought, you know, this is just a bunch of BS. This is what everyone's saying, just a generic sentiment, who cares, he deleted it. Or maybe, the third one, maybe he thought, maybe someone was kidding me. Maybe someone just wanted to wind me up. Like, let's see if we can get Henry to run around the yard and chase Foghorn Leghorn all weekend. And maybe they posted like, look, we pulled his chain. Look, he wrote back. Isn't that funny? He jumped up and we gave him the biscuit. He's funny. And I cannot be that steeped in cynicism to think that someone would pull my leg like that and delete the letter. I can't read it and go like, well, it looks like play acting to me. Delete. Because I'm not trying to think that I'm Mother Teresa or anything, but if someone reaches out to you like that, I have to assume it's the truth. Basically, well, I'd like to say I don't think I'm that naive, but you can get me going pretty easily. So if you do that, I'm not going to blow you off. And I bet any one of you would have written back as best you could. And so I talked about this a few weeks ago in Tucson, Arizona. And after the show, I was talking to people out by the Def Leppard Express. And one guy came up to me and he said, you know that thing you're talking about the soldier? I said, yeah. He said, well, I'm a soldier, and about 7 guys in my group have killed themselves since they got home. It's a statistic that no one wants to talk about, but it's happening every day in America. And I know you know this. And so I said, yeah, I'm sorry about that. He said, well, you know what, there might be a 4th reason as to why the guy didn't write you back. I said, what's that? He said, shame. We're trained not to show any vulnerability. We're trained not to have cracks in our armor. If you show vulnerability, it gets everyone killed. You got to be tough. You got to stay tight and get everyone through. And the fact that the guy reached out to you, was very hard for him. And that you wrote him back, and he had to read your response could have shamed him to the point where he could not deal with that, and he couldn't write you back because he just felt like such a sissy. I said, but he's not a sissy. He goes, no, but we're trained. That's the training. So he said, knowing what I know, seeing what I've seen, I bet it's reason 4. So think about that. I said, wow, thanks for that. And so I told you all that to tell you this. I got a letter 2.5, 3 weeks ago from a girl somewhere in America. A girl sent me a letter, and as an attachment, she sent me 5 or 6 JPEGs of her naked body. And I know, you're probably thinking at 51 years of age, she's still got it. But she didn't say in the letter, like, here's my address, come and find me. She said, Dear Henry, I'm a virgin, and I want you to look me over and tell me if you think a boy might like me. And the idea that someone would have that much, vulnerability and reach out to some fading alternative icon somewhere on the information highway is kind of sad, in that it says to me, at least, that she had no one in her vicinity that she could reach out to. There's no sister, there's no mom, there's no buddy who she can say, hey, how does all this work? I got questions. I have apprehension. I'm a young person. I'm trying to find my feet in the world. So she wrote me, and so I wrote her back. I said, dear girl, name's not important. I said, dear girl, if you were to send these JPEGs of your nakedness to one of the billions of email options you have in the world, you sent them to the right person. Because I have deleted these images as best I can in my semi-Luddite state. In that, it's hard to delete something off your hard drive. Apparently fairly impossible. So I tried, delete. And then this thing, are we sure? We? What do you mean we? You're a laptop. I know corporations are people, but not laptops. I go, yes, we're sure. Okay, images are going to the cyber shredder. There they go! You got 40 seconds to turn this around. Are we still sure? Yes, delete. Now they're going into the cyber inferno. Last chance, delete. These images are non-retrievable. Unless you like to pay $39.95 a month. And so I'm sure one of America's many intelligence gathering agencies can retain these images off my laptop and go, aha! We found a breast! I don't know. And they can probably do it from the dressing room right now. I have no idea. But I said, look, I have deleted these images. Never, ever send naked photos of yourself to anyone on the internet. The internet has an amazing degree of permanence and perpetuity. And you don't want these photos on someone's Facebook page humiliating and haunting you for the rest of your days. Now, as to your query, will a boy like you? And this is no commentary on her looks. She's a girl with no clothes on. We're all grown up here. You've seen that before. It is what it is. I said, my dear, read these words carefully. If you are a respirating female with a valid and operational vagina, you are going to meet so many boys, men, and senior citizens that you are going to want to turn to a nun and live in the back of a cave in the Carpathian Mountains. You'll be so tired of our attention and our affections. As a social experiment, try this. Take your naked body, put it into a burqa. Take your naked burqa body and put it into a sleeping bag. Take the naked burqa sleeping bag body and hurl yourself into an empty grave. Have professionals fill the grave with earth and tamp it down with their feet and walk away. Yes, you have less than 2 minutes to live because of the suffocation. Fear not, help is on the way. Within the next 10 seconds, a man will be walking by and he'll stop right in the place you are buried 6 feet underneath the ground and go, there's a girl down there. Yes, he has his own shovel, and he'll dig you out, and he'll rip the cloth away like you're some kind of human Christmas present, and he'll ask you out on a date. You are going to have 15 to 50 accumulated hours on your message machine of emo boys howling your name in the night, writing emo ballads in your honor. They're taking broken glass and carving your name into their forearms. They'll be running across moonlit cornfields, howling at the moon. You'll send so many young men into hell because you didn't look their way. And so, yes, my dear, you will meet so many men that you'll become sick of us and you'll want an alternative lifestyle to get away. What you cannot do is auction yourself off like a chunk of meat on an auction block. Those days are over. And so you need to respect yourself so others may respect you. Give yourself some esteem so others may hold you in esteem. I am of an age where I can write you things like this. I am like Zarathustra, coming down from the mountain with a gray beard and a mighty staff. That's why I can preach stentorian from the mount. I am Uncle Henry, long of tooth, gray of pate, and I have spoken. Sing.